Johnson, and this is focused on Liberia. Hit it! From Cape Mount to Cape Palmas, Mount Nimba to Atlantic Ocean, Obomi Hills to Boakai, to educate, elevate, and promote. Yeah, focus on Liberia. For Liberia, Liberia. For Liberia, yeah. From Monday to Sunday. From Monday to Sunday. It's focus on Liberia. Talk about home affairs. Hey. In diaspora. Current affairs. Hey. Reliable information. History. Ooh. Talking about culture. Yeah. Politics. Education. Entertainment. Yeah. Business. Sports. Advertisement. Articulation. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. From Monday to Sunday. Focus on.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Friday Night Debate on Focus on Liberia. My name is Dennis Jar, and we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. Jimmy and I will be debating tonight on the topic, Liberia under President Boakai, are we winning or losing? Are we winning the war on corruption? Are we winning or losing the war on drugs? Bad roads, a year or two ago, we had a bad road medicine. Are we winning the war on the messy educational system that President Ellen spoke about, or the economy? That's what we're going to be discussing tonight. Let me welcome Mr. Jimmy Eastman, joining us from the nation's capital. Welcome, Jimmy.
Hey, Dennis, glad to be here. We asking ourselves an important question. I think it's better to ask ourselves now to know if we need to correct the course instead of asking it later when it'll be too late. So I think it's a very pertinent issue we will be discussing tonight.
Thank you. And some of our colleagues will be joining. But Jimmy, before we go ahead, let's define the terms, right? What does winning mean? To you. What does losing mean? We always come with all these things that let's win the war on corruption, the war on this. The roads are bad. We don't have food. People are living on less than $1 a day, and all these things. They are transportation. So, what does winning mean to you?
Well, Dennis, for me, winning means progress. Okay. Oh, welcome to the show, Elvis. For me, winning means progress. I don't expect to be Rome to be built in a day.
Let's say Abuja. I don't like Rome.
Bokonjele. Let's say Bokonjele.
Bokonjele is not built, but Abuja is built.
Okay.
Abuja.
I don't expect everything in a day, but I want to see fundamental. I want to see if you're building a track, like a train track from Saniquile to Monrovia, so you can transport your goods. At least I want to see them digging the road, laying the pieces of wood, laying the tracks. The train ain't come yet, but when I see the tracks being laid, I know we're making progress. In reference to Liberia, if I can see more people getting better quality education, making it more affordable for people to send their children to school. Our attrition rate is so high. We have a high amount of children out of school children, young children running behind cars selling 5 cents, 10 cents a market. I want to see those people gainfully enjoying an education, an early education. I want to see health facilities improve. Just day before yesterday, I lost my cousin, like a little brother to me. He had some heart issue. He was not even quite over 40, and they couldn't. They gave him oxygen. You know very well, if you go to the hospital here, the first thing they do, they put you on an ectogram or there's something to monitor your vitals. None of that was done. I want to see the health system. I want to see industries growing, providing incentives to businesses. If we can see these things happening, I'm okay with it. But when it's not happening, when I see we are distracted by superficial things, trying to show that we're making progress, that we're doing something, and it's very superficial, like the debacle the other day with the $25 million scholarships, which all culminated to be just a farce, just a show, and a part, maybe even a scam that will even put our people in further debt. So, for me, progress is winning. But if you're not making progress, you're not winning, and you're losing because your time is running out.
Thank you. That's winning for Jimmy. Winning equal progress. We're taking baby step. Elvis, what does losing, when we say, are we winning or losing? What does losing look like to you?
Thank you, Mr. John, and hello to you, Mr. Eastman. Look, winning losing looks like, I don't know how to phrase it, but when you're not when there are not deaths happening, when people are not losing things, then that means you're losing. And what did I mean by that, right? If friendships are not dying, if long-standing political alliances are not dying because of corruption, because we know corruption is endemic, and almost everybody in any political institution, many people that work in government, if you're not losing friends, if people's feelings are not being hurt because you're doing the right thing, that means you're losing the war. That means you're complicit in the fight against corruption. So if you're buddy buddies with the people in government, and we know how corrupt our government is, if you have people who are around you for decades upon decades who have been who has been allegedly corrupt, and that friendship is still going strong, and you are in a position to oversee or to regulate or to even prosecute that person, and that friendship is still intact, it means that we as a people is losing the war on corruption. When we're talking about winning, I know Mr. Eastman talked about winning, but that was my point that I wanted to make. If you want to win the war on corruption, just like people who go to war to fight for their country or to fight for their independence, there has to be death. Usually victory comes with death. In this case, doesn't necessarily mean physical death, but death of a lot of things, whether it's nepotism, whether it's cronyism, and those things are difficult. Just like you see people grieve about regular death, when somebody died from a family member, people will cry, people will grieve that they're losing their privilege, that they're losing their close friendship that they once had with you because you had to kill that friendship because they're corrupt. You had to kill that association with them because they're corrupt. Things, drastic action. I mean, people have to grieve over the death of certain things in order to really defeat corruption. Just like you see people go to fight for a nation or to fight for independence, and at the end of the day, they have to make memorials because a lot of people died for that country. A lot of people died during that war so that you guys can get your freedom. To win the fight for corruption, you have to see a lot of political death. When you look behind you, you will see a lot of political relationship that you have that you kill because you refuse to continue that relationship with people who are corrupt. So I don't see that happening in Liberia very often. I really don't. The Ellen Johnson Sirleafs, the George Weah, the people who are connected to these political party and political institution, they barely loses any. You barely lose any of their friendships. They barely lose any kind of association. If somebody is not getting vexed with you and coming on radio and telling you all your secret, all the things that they know about you because you dare to go against them, that means that you're not doing anything to hurt those people. They're not grieving yet. When people are not grieving, you're losing the fight against corruption.
And that kind of depth you're talking about, are you talking about genocide?
It almost might be in that metaphysical sense because it's like the entire country is almost corrupt. So you have people who are in a position of power who have, Liberia's like a small country who has all of these long-standing connections. If you go in that office and you leave and you still have all of those connections with those same people who many people within and without government know they're corrupt or they have done some corrupt things, that means you didn't fight those people and they still love you and they still like you and they still view you the same because you didn't fight them. You didn't take anything away from them. You didn't prosecute them for anything. That just tells you that you're still losing the war of corruption because these people are not. Fighting corruption is painful.
That's we just whetting our appetite. Tonight we're going to be talking about Liberia under President Boakai. Are we winning or losing? So we just define for you losing, what losing is and what winning mean in the context we are speaking tonight. But again, Evans, we are not, this is not in a vacuum. To really be able to progress, as Jimmy said it, or if we are not having many depth, as you said it, let's look at where we are coming from. Because we can only tell we're making progress based on where we are coming from. So if we look at where we are coming from, where we have been, and let me welcome Victor Nabi. Mr. Nabi, welcome.
Hey, Dennis. Thank you very much. What's up, gentlemen? It's good to be here.
And Mr. Nabi, you met us talking about winning or losing. We define for our audience what winning means and what losing in our perspective. What I want to ask you is, Jimmy said winning means we're making progress. So let's talk about where we're coming from. Based on where we've been for the past year or two, are we moving forward? Are we making progress like Jimmy said? Are we progressing or are we retrogressing? Let's start from there because we always have to compare before we even start talking. Go ahead.
So I think relative to our pronouncements, our promises made during the campaign. When I say our, I mean talking to the government. I think we're losing. We are.
We're not there yet. We're going to answer that question. What I want to see is where we're coming from.
Right.
Based on where we're coming from, are we moving ahead or are we going back or are we standing still?
No, I think we're standing still.
Okay. Give me more. Why?
We're standing still because we came to make the difference. We're doing everything that the previous government did. We promised, no business as usual, but we're doing everything but no business as usual. So in that way, I think we're standing still. We're not doing anything different that our predecessor did. We have made no progress beyond what they did as far as tackling corruption is concerned. I mean, the scandals are in the press every day. There's a new scandal.
Well, it is.
I wanted to say one more thing, and it just hit my mind. You remember when Ellen Johnson said corruption is a vampire? Now, that statement was apt because vampires are hard to kill. You have to come up with specialized tools to kill vampires. Some people say you have to stab it in the heart with a wooden stick. Some people say you have to kill it with a silver bullet. What is the silver bullet for corruption? What is that silver bullet? So we're fighting almost a phantom because endemic corruption is almost impossible to defeat. You can only chip away at it. And like you're trying to say, Mr. Jai, are we making progress? Are we chipping away at it before we can slaughter the big vampire that's hovering over our country? And the answer is no. The answer is no for me.
I agree with you. We're not chipping away at it.
So that brings us to the fact that our topic tonight, Liberia under President Boakai. Are we winning or are we losing? And we're going to take it one baby step at a time. Let's start with what we've been pronouncing, the fight on corruption. Are we winning it? Are we losing it? And you can take a step further and give me the casualty count if we are losing, or you give me the POWs if we are winning. Go ahead, Elvis, you take a stab at it. On
I
corruption, are we
mean,
winning or are we losing?
I took a mini, sabbatical because I was so disheartened. I'm still in, but there's a topic today that is very close to my heart that I wanted to come on the show to discuss. I know we'll get to it later. But overall, I think, of course, we're losing. We're losing. During the elections, I made some statements that was kind of controversial. People thought I was being disrespectful to, now President Boakai when I say he's like a mafia boss who sent his minions out to do his dirty work and come back to report to him. People feel like I was likening our honorable old man to some kind of crime lord. But what are the casualties? If we're looking at casualties, at least for the present government, what Samuel Twe removing the Ben governor, taking people from tenure positions that you deem corrupt from a report that had not been adjudicated through a court of law, are those real casualties? Or are those phantom casualties just because you pronounce that these people were allegedly corrupt? Like I said, I hold steadfast to that claim that I made. If there are no real bodies left behind you in your wake, one of the things we're scared of, especially social people like we are, Liberians, we hate to lose friendships. We hate to lose friendships. People don't like to make people feel bad. They don't like to say anything that's even going to make their friends feel bad and change the way that they look at it, let alone where you're going to fight somebody who you've been friends with their family for years. We don't like to do that. So real casualty is hard to find in our political space, especially when it comes to corruption. You have a person like Louis Brown. Again, I'll give you an example. And nobody can say, oh, let's not go there, because every time we try to say something on the platform, people on the platform will try to tell you to say, oh, my man, you can't say that. I know that man is a very good man. The man like this, we always want to retain friendships rather than speaking against it. Louis Brown, for example, has allegedly been corrupt for a long time, since Charles Taylor days, building $1 million house when he just came from behind the line for MPFL when Charles Taylor took power. He's still living in that house today. He said he got the money from an airline business. Louis Brown was recalled by George Weah, what many people thought was unceremoniously done, but was the right thing to do because he wasn't getting the job done. He wasn't getting Liberia to the position it should be. And what did President Boakai do? Because he has a long-standing relationship with Louis Brown, who was allegedly corrupt and was just in New York, getting fat. And Boakai sent him back there because Louis Brown had a close tie with Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, and presumably has a close tie with Joseph Boakai. He's not fighting Louis Brown. You don't want to lose that long-standing relationship. So for me, the Samuel Twe, the opposition people who they say they're going to court to go pay $8 million back, $100 million economic sabotage, maybe those will be the first real casualties. As far as I know, President Boakai is not close to Twe. He's not close with the other people who are involved in those cases. So maybe those are relationships you don't mind losing. But let's see real people who are close to you, who you have friendship with, who are allegedly corrupt, that you can go the whole mile and prosecute them to the full length of the law, and whatever the outcome will be, let it be. Whether they won't speak to you again after your presidency, that is business. We have to have a no-nonsense, somebody who don't give a damn about losing relationship kind of person. And that's not who President Boakai is.
President Boakai just suspended Steve Zago. And we saw also at the Presidential Affairs Ministry, heads are rolling, right? The guys that were fighting at the LDEA, they all gone.
Yeah.
Moda is not there again after his car debacle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good on the face of it. And I like that we say those things. If somebody come to you and say, oh, Mr. Jar, I know what I did was wrong. I stole money from the company and I stole to steal the money. I'm sorry, I will tender my resignation. You say, you know what? Give me 2 weeks, let me think about it. After 2 weeks, say, you know what, I accept a resignation, Elvis, you can go. Or I accept a resignation, Jimmy, you can go. And Jimmy, takes Satoka, you go back to your normal life. No punishment. If you're saying that the punishment for corruption is losing your job, then that's not those are not casualties.
So I can take 2 year money and steal 2 year money and sit down and just sit home. Let me go to Gabriel. Gabriel, are we winning or losing the fight against corruption? Why or why not?
All right, so thank you. Sorry, guys, that I'm actually late, but I will give two takes. My first take is that, and I think I said this here yesterday. Initially, we we were failing, and that's something everyone is aware of. In terms of the false starts, and even initially when the election was over, there was corruption cases with the what was the inauguration, and then there were several other cases that were brought up that the president was reluctant, and up to now is still reluctant to act on. And I think on this platform and also on many platform, we have complained, we have talked about that, and to the point, I think we got to a place where we all settled in and accepted that this administration would just be similar to the previous administration, meaning they talk a good game during campaign season, but time, for to be very effective in terms of applying the rule of law, they're like a lame dog, so we've saw that aspect of it. However, lately they have been, you know I don't know what you want to call it, being very proactive in terms of persecuting, well, not persecuting, firing people who have been allegedly being engaged in corrupt activities, such as um, the uh, the incident at the what was it? The guy who sold.
First,
Yes, exactly that, and also the at the border, the chief
Immigration.
yeah,
immigration
Steve
officer at the
Zago.
border, right? Steve Zago, and Modad. I mean, so there's a little bit of momentum here in terms of taking actions. Yes, it may not be to the level at which we expect, but there's a little bit of momentum here, and I kept saying that
We're making progress, right?
regardless of the level of expectation, we should be optimistic about that. And hopefully, whatever zeal or tailwind that it has been jolted in this presidency that is causing that to happen, we hope to see a lot of that. But then I will also reason with Elvis in terms of that, somebody just letting go because they were engaged in corruption without any prosecutory consequences. I think that is the bare minimum, like you said, and I think you alluded to that before you even brought me on. I could steal a quantum of money and just wait to be fired, and that is it. I walk away with that without anybody persecuting me. Moda, I mean, in as much that I think that he was, let go or whatever he tendered in his resignation with the car issue, the car should have been taken away, and they could have, if you wanted to really set an example, go after him. They could have done the same thing with Steve Zago in terms of um, the incident at the border. I don't know if that's even worth prosecuting, but make an example out of people. So, in my essence, to answer your question, whether we are winning or losing, I think that is yet to be seen because of where we are. Um, and as I said, we're approaching the end of the year. We're technically at the
Mhm.
end of the year. So hopefully, as I keep saying, this president would take away from what has happened over the last 10 months, do a good reflection. And if they cause for him to reshuffle come January, let him do that and really continue to put pedal to the metal in terms of the little bit of action that we've
So,
seen so far to continue
so
to
for
do that.
30
So
seconds,
I'll
Gabriel,
yield on
let's
that.
say we have a football game, right? No matter how late in the game, if we are leading one goal to zero, it means we are winning, right? So in this case, using a
Uh-huh.
football analogy, are we winning or losing on
Yeah.
corruption?
No, this is a draw game right now. This is a draw game right now. This is you're not this. I would say this is a draw game, and I would say the momentum is on the other side, not on the even winning side. Like this is a draw game, but the
Okay.
momentum is on
So,
the
so
opposition
if,
side, meaning the opposition have a lot of
if,
momentum, and you're just chasing the ball around on the field right now.
if 1-1 and the opposing team got the ball and
The
they finish
opposing
crossing the
team got
center
the ball,
line,
and they're just running around the ball right now.
right?
Yeah.
Because when they send it to me on the 7 win, I want to go. Jimmy, are we winning or losing the war on corruption?
I think
God.
I kind of like what Majority is saying. We she's saying or he's saying I don't think we should consider breadcrumbs as progress. But let's face it, the first year is your benchmark year. This is when you do your assessment. This thing what we have to do, the changing of the mentality of the Liberian people toward being hard work, honesty, and integrity is no easy overhaul. And so you have to go about it very constructively, very purposely. So first, the thing you have to do, take an assessment and know which facets or which areas you will focus on first. That will have a ricochet effect on the other areas. So one of the things we do know we have to focus on is the Justice Department in our country. We've seen many times people been brought to the court, even with evidence in hand, and they still go scot-free. So one of the pillars of our democracy that we have to focus on is correcting the justice system. Correcting the justice system will also encourage a better business atmosphere in the country, besides just safety for Liberians. But business people will be willing to invest where they know they will get proper, arbitration, so they have to go to that length. So one of the focus points has to be justice. So you have to take an assessment of our justice system today and see where we need to go with it. The other pillar is we have to rebuild institutions, and that could be in agriculture, in education, all those things. We need to strengthen those institutions, because those institutions will build individuals. We have a way of building up individuals instead of institutions. No, once you build your institutions to a level, they will mold individuals into what you want them to be. So we are making progress, but we have to be thorough, or it will be superficial. It's just like a cancer. If you do not cut deep enough to make sure you extricate all the bad blood and cells, then it comes back. So we have to do a thorough job, and it's a difficult job, but I think there should be a national awareness created after this year. Once they take inventory of where they are, do your benchmarking. There should be a massive campaign to start steering people toward certain goals. Have these subliminal messages posted all around so people can start thinking differently. Because really, you're going to have to work on the psyche of Liberians. So it's a great opportunity, and I think now we have the ability. We can't say we all winning right now, but these little tweaks here and there, people being punished once in a while. We did not see this in the previous administration, so that is going in the right direction. But it has to be thorough. If it's going to be superficial, we'll be back where we are next year.
And Jimmy, you raised a very important point, and that's what leads me to what I'm going to ask our political analyst. For us to talk about winning or losing the fight on corruption, in order to win, there must be signs, right? I think Gabriel gave an example of firing. Somewhere I read that. So tell me, what are some of the signs that we'll see that there is something being done in the fight against corruption? Take, for instance, what are some of the things we'll look at first before we even talk about, okay, we're winning or we're not winning or we're losing? What are those things that will tell us, those signs, clear signs that tell us that whether we are winning or we're losing?
So let me put it this way. If you sit down in your corner and you say, the government, man, that everything they'll go after, then you know they're winning, right? Can you say that today? Can you say this government is going after every allegation that has been levied? I can point to you 3, 4, 5, 6 that are still languishing.
But it's not practical either to do that. You have to.
No, it is not. But an effort has not been made. They are going after the ones they choose to go after. And to me, that's window dressing. There is a big kahuna at the LTA that is lying down untouched. When are they going to go after that? When you tell me that, Jimmy, I'll go ahead.
Well, that is one of the things we were talking about here. If you're going to make a change, it has to be thorough, and I'm not sure why they haven't addressed that issue yet.
And let me show you another one. There is a big kahuna at the Ministry of Public Works. When are they going to go after it?
Again.
So let me tell you this. If the president sits in a cabinet meeting and he gets embarrassed by an announcement of 285 yellow machines and nothing happens and no heads are rolled, if the president is invited to come and launch 300 buses coming from Ghana in front of the executive mansion and nothing has happened and no head has been put on the chopping block, well, what are we talking about today? $25 million. You think these kind of scandals are going to stop? These are all corrupt acts. These are all scandals that are engineered for the cutback, the kickbacks, right? Mm-hmm. So, and I open by saying, if we're going to judge this government based on business as usual, then we're stagnant. But if we're going to agree that they came to promise us that there will be no business as usual, meaning there will be no patronage, there will be no selective prosecution, we'll go after the bad actors whenever they misbehave, then we can say, okay, yeah, we think they're making progress. I can tell you that is what I'm seeing. You know, I sat on the show yesterday and I said I was encouraged by the president. Seemed to have, you know, it's newfound mojo to go after people like the LRRC, you know, the Ministry of State, you know. But in relative terms, comparatively, can we say net this is a plus? No, I think the negatives are more than the positives in the arena of going after bad actors. You know, I saw the LEC that the people rail against LEC. Every one of us go to Moravia, we see the darkness and all that. The team was allowed to stay on until their contract expired. That's the only time they made to exit the stage. And you see that is not business as usual.
Right.
Because if you came to
gentlemen, let's look at it, because firing someone or taking action is just one aspect, right? The fight against corruption, some of the signs of the strengthening of anti-corruption institutions, for instance.
Yeah.
Improve transparency and accountability. We see that. You know, how do Liberians, the corruption perception, how do we perceive corruption, right? And then legal and policy reforms. Are these things not happening? Jay, Victor?
Well, look, I'm hard pressed to point to one or two things that I can say, yes, this is really happening here. I'll be hard pressed. I mean, what is it that we see that was happening yesterday that's not happening today? Look at the MCSS story we just talked about. $1.6 million that purportedly been spent without going through the CCPP process, right? The president himself, the $50 million he was getting ready to spend on the yellow machine, there were outcries yet, and they never went through the bidding process. Okay? Now, the president came in from the very get-go to even declare his asset. That it was a problem. You're talking about perception, setting the tune, right? Perception sometimes in politics is more powerful than the reality. You have to make an impression. I don't see the impression being made in this government. I'll be honest with you. I don't see it. I really can't point to, an instance and say, you know what? I think the president really actually got on this one and he took care of it satisfactorily. Yeah, some of these people are relieved, and then what? Some of them, they walk scot-free, not prosecuted. Can we say that they're going after corruption? You go into government, you take $1.3 million and walk away, they fire you, you go and sit down somewhere and continue to jolly, This is business as usual, as far as I see it.
Mr. John, yeah. Look, I mean, Well, smart people here. The reason for punitive action is to deter people from committing those actions. If the punishment for murder was 5 years, you know how many people will murder all the people who didn't let the jail go sit down for 5 years and come back? What punitive actions are you taking to deter would-be corrupt officials? Somebody losing a job for many people is not the end of their life, not the end of the world, so to speak. Somebody sitting in South Beach for 5 years, because in like, bro, 5 years or 25 years in jail, man. So sitting in jail for 10 years in Liberia in South Beach. Or I don't even think Bella Yala still open, but 5 years in Bella Yala is like help for somebody. What punitive actions is the government taking to curb corruption? Firing people is a step up from what President Weah did. We agree on that. If the benchmark is to measure President Weah and President Boakai, he's doing better because he's firing people and he's accepting resignations. But if you're not taking punitive action to deter people, you're not really fighting the corruption. Somebody said something, and I think we kind of downplayed. I think it was Mr. Namwood. If your justice minister is not busy, if they don't have multiple cases going on at the same time, or you have this one case that they're running behind, you have another team that's fighting another case on the other side. If the country that we have, if our justice ministry is not really, really busy up and down fighting corruption cases, like Mr. Namwood said, that means we're not really fighting. Because you get one big corruption case and the whole entire LACC, the whole entire justice ministry, they focus on that one case. All the other corruption that going on in this country, we have a big justice department that's doing multiple things, multiple cases simultaneously. How many times have we seen that the government is going through 5 corruption cases right now? They're going through 10 corruption cases right now. Are we saying we don't have the resource to have multiple cases going on at the same time? Are we saying that we can do, big cases simultaneously? So for me, I think the fact here is our president hasn't taken punitive actions that will lead to deterrence. If people want to delude themselves to think that firing somebody is punitive enough, that the next man who will come in government will say, you know what, I won't lose my job, so I will not steal. That is not punitive enough to deter anybody from stealing from the government.
Yeah, but let me add something to that. There's a cost for prosecution. Governance is quite simple. You have a limited amount of resources.
Jimmy, let me stop you right there. Are you going to tell me the cost for prosecution will outweigh the benefit that will be derived from prosecuting? Is that what you're going to tell me?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Okay, then go ahead.
I'm saying you're going to have to approach it where you will not exhaust yourself and kill your whole effort. Okay, this is why I mentioned that the legal system is the first one you have to adjust. What if you take those people to court and you don't have enough concrete proof to put them in jail and they walk scot-free? Haven't you just expended a lot of resources?
Let me tell you what my old man once told me, Jimmy. You understand me? He said it is better to walk with a big stick without even the slightest intention of using it. All right, you're giving impression. When you prosecute 1 or 2 major cases, whether you win them or not, the fact that you're going after them would have sent the message that, look, if I do this, they're going to come after me. That is the point. And that is what the perception is all about. Yeah, the government loses cases all the time. I get that. But you want to send a message that this is unacceptable. There is zero tolerance here. We will come after you. You do that once or twice, the message would have gone out there.
So, and that's what I was talking about. Has there been a cultural shift? We'll talk about the perception. Also, are we collaborating with our, I don't like to call them, but that's how they call them, international partners? Take, for instance, if people are investigating a crime, maybe a drug bust, are we collaborating with them to catch those criminals? Or if people are placed on some form of sanction, are we collaborating to make sure that these people are brought to justice? So corruption, I see the emphasis has been on maybe the punitive actions against them or firing them. But what are we doing and what has the culture been? Has there been a shift? How do we look at corruption now? How are we collaborating with our international partners in tracking down criminals and bringing them to book? Gabriel, in a broader sense, because these are all the indicators, and even on the economic side, what are our economic indicators? Are we recouping money that was stolen and put back in the covers so as to tell us that yes, we are winning? Talk to me.
So that is a very good question, and I'm glad you asked that. And I will start by saying this. In as much that I just in my previous expose, I just gave props to the government by doing what they're doing. I like to be fair too, right? There are there were investigations, right? The audit reports, I think two or three audit reports. The most pressing one was the central bank audit report, where we saw quantum of money leave the central bank and go to dubious accounts, companies, subsidiaries, individuals that from the legal or orthodox way of doing financial management in a country, that isn't what's supposed to happen. Those audit reports are still out there, right? There is not a single persecution that happened. The money that flew from that account to NSA unaccounted for to individuals, not a single one was was no hairs rolled. Besides the governor and also the deputy who left, no other small entity was held to account, right? And with that being said, for a president who just came, that would have been a great example to set, at least to set an example, right? The second aspect of that is, I think you mentioned something, whether we're working with our international partner, and this is something Larry usually talked about, and I'll put this out there as well. The sanction that we have right now on those individuals that are in Liberia, it's not just on individuals. There are entities in Liberia that are sanctioned because they are being sanctioned because they work with Hezbollah. The international partners know that. They are aware of these entities because of their affiliation with those terrorist organizations. It was, they've been there since George Weah's time, and they continue to exist under this president. Not a single, you know, investigation in terms of how are we going to go after these people. Now, the reason why I brought this up is because the very international partner that you talked about are paying close attention to these investigations. Whether these are the audit report or these sanctioned institution or companies that are in Liberia that are on the U.S. sanction that we are not doing anything with, they are saying that this president isn't, besides these little petty people that he's going after, which I'm complimenting him on and his administration on, from the broader scheme of things, he is not doing anything that will actually trigger the perspective of the international partner to say, okay, these people are serious about doing business, right? And the reason why I brought the audit report from the central bank and the Hezbollah is because right now, what I would say this categorically, and don't be afraid to say you hear it first. What we don't like, most Liberian people don't know is that there is a sanction on our financial institutions across the country in Liberia. Most Liberians, I don't think anybody here knows this, but there is a sanction because of the fraudulent act that was carried out by the previous Minister of Finance, Tue, right? That most people don't know that, and it's put a stranglehold on us. Now, is this something that the president could do right now to say, okay, this was done by the previous government? However, how can we do, carry
Undo it.
out some kind of action to show the international community that,
Mhm.
okay, this is a very different regime than what the previous regime was, in terms of that now, because Gabriel is in power and because of the action that he's taken, I can now take that knee off his neck of his financial institution to trust him now to really understand that Gabriel is up to business and doing what he's supposed to do. Not a single one has been done. And again, I think these little win that we're celebrating here, which I'm complimenting them on, is just basically between you and I. Oh yeah, we can talk about it and see that, we kind of, but from the grand scheme, I think this is domestic. I'm talking about action that will gain the international community a little bit of trust in you. I will say this one point and I will end. The reason why I bring this up because we have seen the president travel all of his trips that he's taken to China. They promised him the $3 billion. He went to South Korea. He even came here twice in the US, twice. Not a single fund has been committed to him, not one, right? Tell me how much money even the IMF or the World Bank has given to his administrations and he's taking power to say, really, we trust this guy. We can really commit some money to him that he's really going to change things. Why? Because there's still that doubt about your administration, that doubt of effectiveness, that doubt of being able to really do anything substantial with capital that will be invested in you, because they have not seen anything that they can deem trustworthy to really commit to your administration. So right now, it is pretty much wait and see. 10 months later, we're still waiting to see until you do something drastic to really convince the people domestically, not just domestically, but regionally and internationally. Let me put this in my vernacular, the American vernacular. Ain't nobody coming to save you, bro. Nobody will come to commit to you. Not a single cent will be committed to you. So that is the kind of thing that we want to see. Yes, do the domestic thing, but also take drastic action all across the board that will allow the international partners, not just us Liberians, to see you and celebrate you, that will allow the international partner to really understand that this administration is really up to business and they mean business. I yield.
Thank you. True or false, gentlemen? Corruption poses an existential threat to prosperity, security, and democracy.
Without a doubt.
So yes, true.
Of course. I mean, everyone knows that.
So if that's true, and you will say we are losing, what now is the threat to our prosperity, security, and democracy as a people of Liberia?
Okay. Again, corruption. Let's look at prosperity and security. We can look at it together. When people find that they can't make ends meet, right? That they are finding it difficult just to find a meal a day. They find it extremely hard. They can't send their kids to school because they can't afford it. All right. When that sets in, people feel frustrated about life as a whole. That in turn can affect how they interact with each other. That's when you can see violence erupting in the place. So corruption takes away from everybody, and only let's understand how corruption really does. It takes, if you have a certain amount to eat, let's say the 5 of us, and they will cook a pot of rice, and one person takes 3/4 of that pot of rice, 3/4, and takes it away. Then the 4 of us will go to eat, and we only have 1/4 of the rice to eat. All of us will eat a little bit, but we'll be hungry. Yeah, that would cause us to have bad sentiments and all of that. So it is depriving. Corruption is depriving our essential institutions like hospitals, like schools, like roads, like agriculture, investment in private sectors, is depriving us of all this. Okay, and that leads to frustration.
Let's talk about, there's another war, right? The war on bad roads. Are we winning or are we losing? Mr. Nawe.
Let me say this to my my brother Moses Vakpana here, my former LPP brother who has become a UP apologist. I'm not a CDC man. If you know me well, you know I'm a UPP man. I supported the CPP in the Ghana elections. Talking about bad roads, because you asked about the corruption that's going on at the Ministry of Public Works. Let me tell you, if you don't know, the 22 million that you're talking about is out of the doors. All right, whether they spend 8.9 million or whatever, the 22 million that have been signed for. And you tell me, I believe you're from Lofa. Is your road today better than it was 10 months ago? Or the people come from Zozo straight to Monrovia in no time? This is the kind of corruption we're talking about. And so if you're going to write in and call me fanatical and a tribal bigot, you don't know me, So you need to really take it easy, brother. But I tell you this, Dennis. If you spend $8.9 million on the roads and they are what they are today, can we say that is $8.9 million well spent? I'm not an engineer. Jimmy is, even though he's an
It's $1 million, at least $1 million per mile.
There you go.
To pave a road.
So
and it used to be, but probably more now.
Okay. So we spend that much, and we can't say that the roads are better than they were before that money was spent. We don't need international analysts to come and tell us. We're seeing it in real flesh, in real time. So the president came and declared, the previous president before him, he was calling himself bad road medicine, even though he couldn't go to the Southeast to campaign, right? He went there, couldn't go there by road. He had to fly in by chopper, and yet he was a bad road medicine. So this president now came and told us within 90 days, all the major roads in Liberia will be possible. We can't say that is true today. Let's be honest. And this is nothing against this government. We're just assessing them based on the promises made and the performance that we're seeing. It's been there 10 months. Pretty close to $9 million has already been spent. We know the rest is not going to go back at the bank.
Thank you. So we are losing, you say?
We are losing. We are losing. Absolutely. We are losing. We're spending money and getting nothing.
Focus on Liberia conducted an interview today from, they call themselves Sapo Campaigner. He said the road that I use to come from Greenville to Monrovia, so the road connecting Greenville and Swedru, they say it's totally impossible. Nobody can go there. No car, no motorbike, nothing. The bushes, and I was shocked. I said, so I joked him, I said, but what happened to the bad road medicine? It has not been 1 month yet. 1 year yet. He said, well, you'll give up rescue, so you'll fix it. But, so I was shocked, right? Obviously, you don't know that road, so don't even. Greenville to Swedru.
He know Tucson a little bit, but he know about how to road.
Let's talk about the war or the bad roads.
Look, sometimes I sit down and I think and I say, I hate to say this, but how did the white people industrialize? And the more I think about it, I realize, I don't want to be a conspiracy theory or one of those people who always want to blame other people for our failures. But I think they had a head start, and we gave them that head start as a black race. Most of Europe had slaves who was doing the hard labor, and they used the proceeds from the labors of those slaves to build up their country. In this very country we live in, what America had industrialized and developed as rapidly as it did, without the 200 or 300 plus years of slavery in this country. Britain, Congo, with Leopold and what he did to the people, not Congo, but Belgium, what he did to the people in Congo.
Yeah.
Will those countries be looking so nice when you go to, to Brussels, when you go down to London, when you go down to Washington? Well, these people have already made the progress that they made. So I'm saying this to say that our problem, especially when it comes to roads, is enormous. And deep down, I don't think we have the capacity to do this on our own as it stands right now, regardless of what kind of government we have in place. We don't have the financial resources. I don't think we have the intellectual resources in terms of engineers and people who know how to build roads and have enough of them to really build the kind of the roads we need to really connect all of our capital cities. Even places like Dubai, we talk about Dubai today, for example. The beautiful Dubai you see, it was not built by the native Dubai, people that live in Dubai. They had so much money they could bring people from other places who had the expertise, pay them exorbitant amount of money because for them money was no object, and they developed. They took a shortcut because they have so much money. We don't have the money. We don't have the expertise. We don't have the resources that we can get cash in a lot of windfall for our resources. How are we going to build roads? How are we really going to develop? I said, and I think about this because our international donors are not going to develop Liberia for us to the level that we want to see. Ourselves spending 22 million, like Mr. Eastman was saying, if you're talking $1 million a road, a genuine road that can withstand rainy season and dry season, 22 miles a road. If you spend $22 million, that's a lot. That's a lot of road. Of course not. So $22 million for a road project to rehabilitate, not to even build new roads. As far as I know, to rehabilitate the roads that we have, $22 million, and we think that's a lot of money. We're talking billions, if not tens of billions, to build the kind of roads that we really need in our country. How can we raise that money? Now we can't do it by tax. We can't do it by even selling all our natural resources right now as it stands. So how can we really develop? Let's ask ourselves that real question. What kind of magical politician is going to come into Liberia that's going to play some kind of wizardry that's going to allow us to build the kind of roads that we want to see in Liberia with the kind of resources or lack of resources that we have on the ground right now? Who can do it? Let's be honest. Forget the politics and this, phantasmagorical,
Well,
dreaming that we
let me
have
say this.
that we
Let
can
me say
do it.
this.
I don't think it's possible.
Let
Maybe
me
I'm
tell you
being,
this.
pessimistic.
Let me
Hold
clear
on,
that
before,
question.
You're being
before
too
Let me,
pessimistic.
let me come in real quickly. All right,
Elvis,
Mr.
Elvis.
Nangwe wants to
Elvis,
comment.
so you say it cannot be done.
I don't think it's possible right now as a country. What we
I,
have on hand,
I want
I
to
don't think
counter
it's
that point, but
possible
I think
to
Mr.
do it.
Nangwe would like to comment.
Yeah, thank you, Gabriel. So Elvis, I like the way you put it. But let me tell you this: the mark of an educated man is one, to know that you need help. Then two, to be able to go out and get that help. All right, that's what makes you an educated person. I think it's foolhardy to think you're educated enough to solve all the problems. You can be an engineer, you can be a doctor, you can be a lawyer. You have to find the round pegs and put them in the round holes. You don't take the square pegs and put them in the round holes. So let me tell you, we may not have the resources, which I think we do. I think we have a lot of resources, but you, as a manager, as a planner, when you craft out a plan, you put the cost to execute, and then you put the expected benefit. Based on that, I can invest in that plan. I can tell you, look, Elvis, I want to buy this laptop computer, and upgrade it. It will probably cost me $20. But when I upgrade it, there's a good chance I will make $100 from using it to do other stuff. That may impress me, and I'll say, okay, Elvis, you may not have the $20, but I will spot you 15, or I will give you all the 20 of it. Our managers have to craft out a plan, get out there and go and find the help that we need to develop the country. I don't think it really takes that much of the
I mean,
to do that.
It does, Mr. Namo. Let me just say one thing, Mr. Jerry, before you come in.
hold on,
Look, I know you cut me
Elvis,
off. Let me say this. Realistically, let's be honest. To connect all of the capital cities of our counties, or at least to even develop our roads to a passable state consistently. We are talking, Gabriel, you're the finance guy. We're talking at least $500 million conservatively, or maybe upwards to $1 billion.
And you
Who's
believe we don't
gonna
have
give us
you
a
believe we don't
billion
find
dollars?
$1 billion
Who's
in our
gonna give us $1 billion, Mr. Number? We don't have a credit rating as a nation. We do not have a credit rating as a nation. Who's going to give us even
I
$500 million in solid cash and trust us to invest that money wisely while stealing it and then give return on investment to be able to pay and service that loan that they gave us for maybe 50 years or 30 years? Who's going to do that for us?
So your
let
credit
me
rating is
let
based on
me let
your
me.
credit worthiness, right? Your
yeah.
ability
Hold on,
to.
we gotta move on. Evans, so let's say that you can do the role. Is there anything else that you can do?
Can you guys hear me?
You got
Yeah.
to start from the ground up. You got to try to build capacity, right?
So what I mean is, if you can get the role, can you use the C route? Can you use train? Victor was talking about as an educator man. Can you be innovative? What can you do?
I
Or
was
you just
saving
do
grace, Mr. Guy. I was saving grace, and I keep watching it. I'm praying for it. Is this West African highway that might be coming to Liberia, ending in Liberia? I think that
We
would be
have
our biggest saving grace
we have to
that can
build it.
go along the sea
No,
coast
we have
from
to
coming
build it.
from. We have to build it. They're not going to build it for us as a union, as the
No.
ECOWAS.
Everybody build their
Okay,
own.
you build your
everybody
own.
build their own. There, I guess we out of it because we ain't get that kind of money to build it. So I don't
So
know what can save us now.
so
Gabriel,
Seriously,
go
so
because
I think you're you are being very, 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 very pessimistic here, and it's you have every reason to be, but
No.
the to
Maybe
go as
because the
far to
Bible
say
medicine didn't do
that
it. So he
we
said nobody else can do it.
we do
Tottenham
not.
did it, right? Tottenham built a lot of roads, but go ahead, Gabriel. Go ahead, Gabriel.
Yeah, to say that we cannot, nobody can give us $1 billion to do what we need to do in terms of building roads. I think that is a little bit too, and it's okay to think that way because you're not the only one who thinks that way, right? The entire government thinks that way. Matter of fact, when it comes to even doing the basic thing, what they need to do for investors to come into the country and invest in the country, they're not doing that. So I agree with you if you're thinking that way because I think that is the same way they're thinking. I continue to say this, and this is the fight that I keep saying that I will continue to fight until it happens. If we, when I mean we, those at the top really understood the global architecture, financial architecture, and what strangulation that is on Liberia right now, and how that is limiting us for doing exactly what you said, what you just said. For somebody to be able to come in and bring in $1 billion into the country, 2, 3, 4, 5 billion, how that is limiting us. If we don't understand that, we will continue to think the way you're thinking. Billion $1 billion is no money for a country our size. Is no money. People can come in and invest in our country for a lot more than $1 billion, right? It won't be in a sense where they just come and give you the money because they say, oh, you're a good country, or because you're raising so much revenue. It will be in a sense where they will say, okay, we're going to build, let's say, 50 kilometers or 50 miles of
Let,
roads
let's
for,
use
let's say,
Miles.
let's put a price tax of $1 billion on that, right? What we're going to do if we're coming, we're going to do a public-private partnership. We're going to structure it in a sense where if we build that road, we will put tolls on it, right? And collect the revenue on that tolls for the 25 years until we recoup our money. Then we can turn that over to the government. That is how that can be done. It's not the case where we're just going to give it to you because we know if we give it to you, you won't manage it properly because we've seen your history. So there is lots of, when I mean there is lots of deal, I keep saying that, and I will say this quickly and I will end because when we go into that topic, there's a lot to talk about. Cases where we went to China, Chinese people promised us $3 billion. Do you know we cannot bring that money into that country directly through our own banking system as it exists right now? If China said today they're ready, they want to flow that money in, transfer into in Liberia central bank account, do you know that cannot happen right now? All of you here know that. But that is the tragedy we have because our system isn't up to date with the rest of the world. This is why we have, if right now you and I will continue to say this. Right now, if where I am, if I want to wire money through Liberia through the typical system, quote, Swift, it goes through Citibank in New York before it gets to a bank in Liberia. I'm paying fee here, $35 fee, and then when it goes to Citibank, it land in Citibank and go
I think
to
it gotta go to Europe too.
Liberia, the bank account. They take money from there. That is so much money. Whereas in other African countries, that money can leave directly. I can get up this morning and go to my bank and send that money. It goes from my bank account to the bank account in Liberia directly. That level of strangulation until we lift it, somebody can say, let's say Mr. Nangbe has 500 million sitting in his account, where the rates are dropping here now. He's not getting anything from me. He can say, you know what? I want to take that money to Liberia. Maybe I'll get 7 or 10% there.
But Gabriel,
Transfer that money. No, let me
is it
say this. Let me say
imposed?
this. And
Is
this is
it imposed, or is it something that we're not doing to modernize our banking system?
we just gotta get up, and this is what I keep saying. Like you see, some of us we wear these costumes, we dress up, we do this. I think sometimes we don't understand it, but we just gotta get up, pick up the phone, and call the Fed. Say, listen, I am in charge. I know this happened with my predecessor. I know the implication it had. Can we get this lifted? Because I'm serious. I have this agenda thing that I want to do. Investors want to come in, they want to bring in money. The Fed said no. You go to the next step. You escalate it to the next step. Pick up the phone and go. All these meetings we taking from trip here, trip and there, they mean nothing if you go and make this deal and the people cannot bring the money in directly. The moment they come to you and they say they can't bring the money in directly, I just think you're a play country. There are other countries in the region that I can go to that can do that deal. I keep saying this and I'll say it quickly and I'll end. We are competing for every dollar in the region. every dollar we're competing. Whether we see it physically or not, we're competing. What you can't do because you have limitation in your banking system, Ivory Coast can do it. Ghana can do it. Togo can do it. All those countries can do it. So if you have that limitation and you're not even picking up the phone and doing the right thing, I have people with money don't have time on their hand because that's their resource. They will go to the next country, pick up the phone. The moment that is lifted, I swear to you on my father, the kind of capital that will flow in Liberia, you guys will be surprised.
But
The
Gabriel, what does it take
laziness
to remove it? Is it an
And what
imposed
is that?
sanction? And what would it take to remove it?
is an
Not
imposed
just a
sanction that
call.
we
Okay, please
is
watch the
imposed sanction that all
F1
of us are
Marketplace
aware of.
tomorrow at 3. You will know what it takes.
Okay.
Watch the
All of us
Marketplace
are aware
tomorrow.
of.
let me add something to it.
Yeah,
Gabriel.
I want
This
Jimmy.
is
I want Jimmy to talk about that, and that's why we encourage our policymakers to focus on Liberia Marketplace. So we talk about business, economic, finance, everything in between.
Mhm.
These things, they are not magic. You know, Gabriel is a VP in a bank here. He knows what he's talking about. So watch us tomorrow. Go ahead, Jimmy.
Yeah, so this is what I was saying. We have to be strategic, and that's why we have to make an assessment and then figure out which areas to start with first. You see, a lot of people equate high technology with general social well-being. No, you can have nice dirt roads and the people are happier. They're having skyscrapers and they're living in the ghetto.
Right.
So you have to study what you need and how best you can use your resources to get it. But
Exactly.
what I do,
Yeah.
we need to see, we need to have a national plan that we can build on year after year, and we know we're going somewhere, But this calls for deep down thinking, and it doesn't call for partisan stuff. The partisan doesn't help. In politics, has never built a country. It's the mind working together, coming down in unison, and aiming for one goal. That's what builds the country. So that's why I say it's so important for us to identify the strategy we're going to use to help ourselves emerge from where we are today, because it's not an easy task, but we can do it. But it's going to be a very strategic thing to take on ourselves, and we have to, and definitely we can't do it. Somebody is going to be taking 3/4 of the pie and leaving everybody else 1/4. So that's why.
And so this means that we are losing the fight on bad roads. That's what I'm hearing from you.
Is there really a fight on bad roads?
Yeah,
That's a great question.
road. So there are ways, and Evans, to your point. I mean, you make a lot of sense. Thanks for Gabriel for clarifying that also. So what are we doing? And I'll give you the example. So we say we are not able to build a road. What else can we do? Can we do ferry? Can we have, because we are trying to get goods from Monrovia to Greenville, can we use the sea route? What people have investigated and said the rails, train track is less costly. Can we get that? Because most of the time the roads are getting spoiled because of the trucks. So if we can get our cargoes to move on the railroad, that's better, right? Or are we sending people? I learned let's hope and pray that the 25 million is real, that there is a scholarship 25 million. But are these people going to study what we need? For all these years, roads have been a problem. Do we have, even the way we build our houses? I mean, the concrete is just too much. Can we send people to school to learn how to innovate and do things a little differently? Maybe cheaper.
I'll tell you this, Dennis. STEM really is revealing a lot of wonders, a lot of wonderful different.
Mr. Cummings did it with that STEM school. STEM or AI and all that.
Why you gotta bring Cummings in this thing? I'm talking. You're gonna interrupt me about Cummings? Come on, man. But listen, Dennis. Seriously, look, and I'm sure Jimmy gave you and Elvis, even just this 3D printing. There are a lot of things that you can do now on the computer. Yeah. Maybe the way we're used to building bridges, maybe a kid, maybe
Exactly.
So maybe these kids, if they're really going to learn STEM and AI and all that stuff, maybe there's some promise in there. You know, the future really is not you and I. So it's not our.
Victor, do you know there are Liberians who are doing this thing right now? I think I hosted the 3D printing.
Yeah.
Right. There are Liberians doing these things today.
Right.
So instead of maybe investing in 5-6 year program,
right,
we can get something started today. I mean,
and that's why I agree with you. And we have said here, invest that money locally if it is really available. Reinforce the institution. But yeah, I agree with you on that. But yes, I think AI might be able to help us, find a way around some of these old traditional way of doing things that are so costly.
I was asking someone in Monrovia today, when you're in Monrovia, I mean, we went to school, right?
Right.
I went to one of the best high schools in the country that time, if not the world, right? Temperature, you will define temperature. Temperature is the hardness or coldness. Right now in Monrovia, I don't know if you can hear what the temperature is today. If you told someone in Monrovia that today is 50 degrees Fahrenheit, do they know how? Can they tell you what that means? How is it warm? Is it cold? Can I wear a sweater? Would they know? What I'm saying is some basic thing we are not even talking. Someone started to talk AI and talk all these things. I'm like, come on.
People still look at the sky to tell if it's going to rain rather than checking the weather before going out.
Seriously. They have phones, but they cannot relate. They cannot relate that temperature to what really it is. Right now, when you tell somebody somewhere, say, "Oh, in Atlanta is 70 degrees," I say, "Oh, you're lucky," right? You get it right away. If you told someone in Monrovia now, would they know whether it's cold or hot? Probably not. We can't even go to school and take a little balance for somebody to stand on it and tell us, how much you weigh. We took years memorizing the difference between mass and weight. Maybe somebody brought a scale in class that was going to be cleared up in 2 seconds. So we really need to go little practical, basic stuff. We need to get.
And that's what I think. That's the point. That's the point Mr. Nangwe is making. In as much that I don't think that is, but in a way, he's thinking in the terms of leapfrogging, right? In terms of saying, "Oh, let's look at the traditional way of doing things." That if these kids, hopefully, that is something they're able to pull off. Go out and learn STEMs and AI. Maybe they have better way they can leapfrog us into the way of doing certain things in terms of building roles and some of these things and we won't, like you and I. Well, I don't know about you. I grew up in a house there was no house phone, right? I never used a house phone, but here by the time I became of age I had a cell phone. So the house phone we leapfrog, right? So hopefully these kids going to school and learning all these STEM and AIs and stuff, they have a better way of being able to test the soil to see whether this is even a place we should be building roads compared to what we thought these roads are. But I just want to make one last point before I shut up, right? To Elvis, he said you kind of trying to figure out whether these European countries, how they industrialize and build, they got a head start. Yes, some of them leverage, not some of them, most of them leverage the slave trade to build these countries. We too had slaves. We were selling our people to other countries, right? Instead of, even if you wanted to deploy those people, you could have deployed those people to build tracks along the way, map out an entire country, and bring those people like we were taking them from the villages and selling them to other islands and stuff, right? We could have done that and built the road just like the Chinese people build these highways across this country that you and I live in today, right? We could have done that right in our own backyard in Liberia. We're an old country, the oldest, probably one of the oldest in Africa, right? We could have done that. We could have got a better head start. But we do not think in that kind of line. And this is the same method, the way we've been thinking since then. It's the same way we're
to
thinking.
add to that,
that's a flawed analysis, Gabe.
I want us to move on to our last point, and then we bring in the colors.
If let me say this quickly. Let me say, if you don't have the money, at least you have 22 million. How much are you going to? You can take 2 million, 3 million, 5 to pay a group of engineers to map out the entire road network in the country. First, at least you have that plan, right? You know exactly where all the roads need to be. Then you can now start looking for the money and start building it small, 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 small. But not an inch has been done. Nobody showed me a
Look,
road network that's gonna connect every
Hold on,
county in the
We
country.
gotta move on.
Not one.
We
We
gotta
have
move on to
22
the
million.
war on drugs.
Yep.
Yeah, war on drugs.
Yeah, because this has impacted me personally. I was just on a conference call with my family. My nephew, I mean, he's chronic now. So the guy, the Peking came with the man brought him. Actually, it's my niece's son. Came home and we went to talk to him. We got a clinical psychologist in the family. So the man said, "Okay, wait, let me go get data." By the time they came back, he was gone. When you see it said a few months ago, when you see him, he's no different from the biblical Job with all the souls. This drug thing is real and it's affecting families. There's another family, they don't want to take bath, they got to go to the neighbor's house to cream and do whatever because they got a son in the house who steals everything, so they can't keep anything in the house. And they're very bold. They say, I have to steal it to support my habit. I have another family member who died from drug overdose. It's real. This is killing people. What are we doing on the war on drugs? Jimmy.
Okay.
Winning or losing?
I don't mind going. Let me get out the way. But I want to share something with you, gentlemen, really quick. And I was enlightened today when I listened to some. I shared it on the Liberia First page. What sometimes we allude to what happened to us as a slave trade. If no, that wasn't a slave trade. That was an African Holocaust. They ravaged us. They took everything out of us, our gold, our diamond, you name it, and they killed us by millions. That wasn't just a commodity thing. They raped Africa. So it's much greater than just that. People. They took everything with the people. And when it comes to the drugs, we do have a problem, and we see it spreading. We have tried to. I believe the best way to address our drug problem, because there's so much poverty in the place, it's just I'm not stop it from coming in the country. We don't. I mean, there's not a lot of money there, and people can people afford to do it? I just really think we allowing some of those things to come through, but it can be stopped because we don't. We're not really high consumers. Though the ones that are getting hurt. But I think it can be curtailed in Liberia, especially just by seeding our borders a little better.
But you said Liberia is mainly for transition. We saw the 100 million drug that came through, so are we winning? I don't know, why was the immigration boss fired? Do you know? Administrative reason?
Well, I've heard something. I know that somebody, a Liberian national, was taken out of prison and whistled off Guinea. And I understand that he may not no longer be alive. So it may be related to that incident as a whole, because it was illegal what happened to him.
Right, but what I learned from Justice Kabina Jana, who's on that case, because he was taken from Monrovia. So this guy is at the border, immigration. So it will be, anyway. So I would doubt if that would be the case, because the instructions should come from Monrovia before you get to the border where the immigration will allow. How did he get out of prison in Monrovia to be on that side?
Only somebody of high rank could have got him out. And that is why it is when you firing or dismissing or suspending these people, you need to articulate what they did, so that we know exactly what you put it out there, so people can try to know that if they do the same similar act, they'll be caught for it. So it's very important that he and that the executive articulates why he dismisses these people and not leave it up to skepticism.
And even with LDEA, the findings after, we don't know, they were just removed. Sam Waller is asking me, he said, are you really seriously asking Liberia is winning the war on drugs?
I can answer that question.
But Victor, you know Sam better, right?
You mean Mr. Wallow?
Yeah.
I know him from here. We never met.
Because
but
he's
on everyone here. But if I may chime in real quickly, Dennis, look, I think our priorities, we telegraph our priorities based on the planning we put in place, the money we spend on these activities, and the question of drugs is a real problem, and this is why a number of us were really concerned over the manner in which the whole LDE situation was handled by the president. You have this scourge in the streets, that is swallowing our young people, even other people, and yet the president he didn't recognize the emergency. The report came in, and it sat down for over 5 months. I don't know if we can even say we have a war on drugs. To lose a fight, you got to be in a fight. Are we really in a fight against drugs? I don't know. Maybe that's what Mr. Wallace is asking. I don't know why the immigration boss was let go, but again, we said that
it was suspended, not let go.
Yes, suspended for 3 months. Yes, suspended for 3 months. I agree with Jimmy here. Mm-hmm. The whole blanket explanation of administrative reason, that's what the previous government did. That's why we came to change.
They may allow Moringa T through the airport. What they suspended him for? The same thing they said Finabona was doing. He allowed to come there in the airport.
Moringa.
I'm being facetious, but the airport has been very porous. The borders are very porous. Also, he's not doing a great job. If people think he's complicit in a drug that's coming to the country,
why not fire him once for all?
There you go. But let me say, can I speak on the topic of the drug issue, because it's also personal to me too.
Go ahead.
First of all, we can't win the war on drugs. I hate to be so glib. It's not winnable. It's not winnable. Drug is not something you can fight and win. I'll give you an example before I even get to Liberia.
Okay.
Take the United States of America, for example, where they allocate hundreds, if not, tens, if not hundreds of billions of dollars on a yearly basis to fight drug. This country, where we think we have the most secure borders, looking at the immigration situation, we can probably say the most secure, but at least we have people on many of the ports of entry into this country. On the airline, 99% of the time, you're taking anything illegal through the airport, they're going to catch you. Through the Mexican border, the chances of them catching you is also very high. But we have fentanyl, a deadly drug that comes into this country like water, and is flooding the streets of the United States. With all of the sophistication, the scanners, the money, the border patrol, the DEA, all the money that they spend, and they've been losing the drug war since the time of Pablo Escobar. They've been losing this drug war, and they continue to lose it. With all the money they expended to fight it. Go to Liberia. We can build roads. We can barely build an ATS stadium to be functioning for teams to play on it. How much money do you think we can afford to allocate to combat the importation of drugs in our country? Look, as a kid growing up in Congo Town, there's a family that many of you probably know, very well connected, especially you, Mr. Eastman, very well connected family during the true weak time. But the patriarch of that family was a big person in the true weak government. And I was friends with that family, their son. Maybe I can call his first name Jerry. Myself was like best friend. His father was a pastor at the First Baptist Church in Congo Town. Mother come from a highly reputable family. For me, I would say, bro, I was a Banapiki, because I was like, seriously, I was 7 years ago, I used to go play football all the time. I don't dust it. That guy never used to leave us that building. He always used to be home. The parents really pamper him. They really took good care of him. I would go walk up, come out home. My mom would beat me, do all the things, but I didn't care. I was hard-headed. Only for me to I want to visit my mom the other day. My mom said, "Oh, somebody want to talk to you." It was the Reverend who called me and was talking. I said, "Oh, hi, it's Jerry." He said, I mean, it was disheartening. The Jerry, what Mr. Jai was saying, Jerry was stealing the things from his parents' home. He spent on drugs. Even his little brother, who I knew was a baby then in Liberia, he steal his little brother business money. I mean, the drug, it takes away your pride. It takes away any dignity that you have. He steal his little brother, money from him, steal from his parents. And I couldn't fathom it because this was a good kid who was so well managed and well pampered by his mother and his father and his family. For me to hear that he's on drug in Liberia is mind-boggling to me. So the fact that drug can kill good kids from good families, regardless of what their socioeconomic status
Oh yeah,
is devastating to hear.
no
You know,
doubt.
I'll say this quickly, right, Elvis?
But I want to conclude my thought, please,
Oh, you're
before
not
I
done
go to you,
yet?
Mr. Lama.
I'm
Please,
sorry.
please forgive me. The fight on drug, that's what I'm saying, is almost impossible to win because you will always have illicit drug coming into the country, regardless of what you do. And if you can spend the kind of money that it takes to curb it down by 50%, you're talking at least maybe $100 million to really be effective. Whether it's into technology or even human resources, it takes a lot of money to fight you. And monies that we don't have in Liberia to spend for those purposes. We have more pressing issues. I hate to say it because drug is a life and death issue now. But roads, education, health are all the important things that has to be prioritized over, the drug issue. So that's why I think it's something that even in America, I mean, we actually we don't see it here. Go
No,
to
but
Philadelphia, go to Kensington, you see people dying, people on the road, all the resources that we have in this country, and people are on drug by the millions in this great country that we live in. So in Liberia, I don't think we have the resources, but we can afford to expend those resources to really fight the drug and able to even cut it down by 50% usage. It's not possible.
what's about Guinea or Ghana? I
You
mean,
think
you
you think
using
those countries
America.
don't have a drug problem?
No, you're using America a lot. I say, why you don't compare with
Because I'm
Guinea?
trying to tell you on the one side of the screen where you have all the resources, all of the
So, so the
sophistications and the
so the
technology to fight
issue
it, and they're still losing it.
so the issue may not be resources alone. Then,
But that's the
uh,
point out. That's the point I wanted to
go
make.
ahead, Peter.
There's the point I wanted to make. Then is and it seems to me like most of the drugs come into the country through the ports of entry. I don't think we have the sophistication yet that is present in this country to manufacture these drugs. If we do, it will be to a very minuscule level. But in this country, some of the drugs come through the mail, and then you have the circular brother. That's another story. Our problem is most of the drugs come through the ports of entry, especially through the airport, which should not be that difficult to manage. Here we have porous borders, and they come through all kinds of points of entry. But in Liberia, most of the drugs you hear about, they come through the airport. How difficult is that to manage the airport? I mean, I think that would take away maybe 50, 70, 80% of the drug problem. There isn't the will to do that. That is our problem, Elvis.
A lot of drug coming through Nima, through Ganta. They've had a big drug bust in
Some
Ganta,
people,
and
I
those
agree with
boards
you,
are
but I'm
very,
saying
very porous in Nima
So,
County.
I agree, but the
if
majority
they
of
have
it
that
is
drug bust, what happened next? Do you hear about it again?
exactly.
The 100
Of course,
million?
I mean, you guys are actually be like, this is
No,
this
no,
is this
no.
is
What?
my fault.
Yeah.
The point
So,
is that drug was an international drug thing that were already being tracked. Like Mr. Nago is trying to say, I would disagree with him slightly. Most of the drugs come through women, for example. People that can tie things on their back, bundles on
yeah.
their back. Women can transport drugs in like and you think we have border patrol on the border that would look at so old man coming with bag of coal on her head and her lapata and her baby on her back. You think they're gonna search that woman?
I know,
You
Elvis.
think they're
No,
gonna search that?
I'm not disagreeing with
Elvis, have
you.
you been around those borders?
People do come in with a little type. They part 20,000, 30,000 here, there. But the 100
Because that
million.
don't be in front of my age. That's because my young man me. I don't know where like bro before.
No, I mean
Well,
the
I
border.
got from it. Say that again.
I said the border. I've crossed the Guinea border, the Ivory
Again
Coast border,
from
the,
Nima to Guinea.
the Ivory Coast border, the Nigeria border, Cement border.
Yeah, those borders are almost non-existent, right?
Yeah, those borders. So I think I want to agree with Namwe. Is more of will than the resources. right? I mean, where did the
I
100
mean,
million drug
the
go?
old lady in the catch, how much they carry? Elvis? They done 30,000 worth of drug, 20,000 worth of drug.
But
But
I'm telling you, think those people have the presence of mind to even search people who may look unsuspecting? Because those are the
They
people that
search
bring
them.
drugs.
That's what I'm saying. They search them. The only people they don't serve people who give money.
exactly.
So if there's a principle laid down to search, you will search. But if you give money, until there came a time we didn't bother about, because you will get all your documents, they say ask you for money. So time came now, we're not even getting documents. We just go and say, I'll just pay the money, right? But let's bring in some colors. We talk enough. Let's bring in some colors here. James Colley is our first caller. Mr. Colley, you're live.
Good evening.
Are we winning or are we losing?
Hello?
Are we winning, Jimmy, or are we losing?
Yeah, we are in the middle. I think I agree with Mr. Carter. We are in the middle. I don't know if I'll go at halftime, but it looks like we're in the middle somewhere there. Because of the fact that we are conscientized about the situation, the problems we have, I think we may think that we on track perhaps to win or further assess our problems. But I want to start with a few other things that, you all said a lot of good things, a lot of brilliant stuff. But I've always been in this situation where I get to think, if there any time that Liberia will have experts that will do case study, just case study on Liberia, do case study on the political sphere, do case study on the financial atmosphere that we have, or the financial situation, do case study on the security situation, and education. For example, when we think about corruption, I will go as far back saying, for corruption to actually be curtailed, we have to look at the Constitution. That Constitution has problem.
What?
And unless that, it's almost like what the Bible says, building on a sinking sand. We have to do some amendment in the Constitution. And I'm not sure if the leadership or the lawmakers we have might be interested in doing so. Also, I want to touch on the monetary aspect that Brother Carter was talking about. Now, there has to be some confidence instilled into the system. For example, the last government that was there was this rumor about government taking money from out of the banks and from people's account. I don't know how true that is. And he's absolutely right. If those things are not taken care of and, given assurance, I don't know how many of us have accounts over there in Liberia. I have a little bit there, but, it's scary. People might not put their money in there. And then the business owners also that are collecting U.S. dollars might not be able to put their money in there. I'll give one example also about the monetary system. The last time I brought about the money changing, I know I'm going kind of all over the place, but I'm trying to, save time here before I get cut off. The money changing system is also a problem. Okay, we have to look at our currency. I remember visiting the Bahamas. The Bahamas uses, for example, U.S. dollars. But when you go to the Bahamas, you'll find out that the people are some of the poorest people there, even though they use U.S. dollars. How can you use hard currency money and then you stay, at the bottom of the belt, below the belt? So it's a problem, meaning that the U.S. dollar comes in, just as it comes in, it's going out. And so we need to work on the currency also in Liberia. Security. The security aspect, we're not looking at all of the full skill of security in Liberia. We can talk about NSA, but I would speak from the cyber perspective. We have what we call physical security as well. And physical security, for example, in your house, you have to check the doors, the CCTV, and et cetera, the rest of the other things. Because you want to prevent penetration. You want to prevent, people breaking in and stuff like that. and the security system in the country is better. We are so vulnerable. The borders are so porous. I don't know if it's Ellis that was speaking about it. The borders are bad. We don't even know what is coming in at what entry point to get into the country. That's another thing. I don't want to dwell too much on that. The education
Thank you.
We don't have good foundation. I would just say this and then move a little further. Then you can cut me off, Brother John. Just let me collect my thoughts here.
Right. I want you to go straight to the point. If we are winning these wars or not.
That's what I said. All of these things are in the middle. We are winning, but slowly winning.
Thank you.
Because we concentrate about what was that?
Go just complete end your thoughts so we can go to the next caller.
Okay, so education, we need foundation. We don't have the foundation for education. And then when it even comes to the higher education for the universities, we don't have what it takes, to put our students to, a lot of students to really do concrete stuff. Our electrical engineering, we need to work on the departments that we have, our LU, and perhaps in the country, other places. Now, the roads, Brother Ellis was talking about, we can't build roads. Now, Brother John, you did math. I heard you talking about math. One of the things I remember from Tubman High days in math, I remember that one of the best ways to solve any difficult problem is use recursive method. Break it down to the very small units. For example, if you're going to build 1 million mile road, start with 1 mile. You can't start with 1 million. And so you have to be recursive. So that's how we need to tackle some of those problems. Last but not the least, the drugs. I would just say this. Our police don't have guns. I remember when I last went to Liberia, I was in Padland, and I parked my car at the police depot, and a taxi just came and, bulldozed the whole gate and just went through it and broke it down. And the police were like, let's stop looking for motorbike to run behind a taxi. And they were saying, that's drug in there, that's drug in there. The car just threw it away and went. So, I'm just trying to say that we can say all this in short, we need to have a case study of Liberia. We need experts. And one of the things we're short of is in Liberia, everybody says everything. And it seems that we all have a PhD in toxicology. We need people who are specialized in their areas to give their point of view professionally so that we can take that into account and do something with it. If Brother Kaba knows about banking, let's bring him and let's listen to him. And other people who are bankers, let's listen to them. If Brother Nangwe is a politician, he's a political analyst, let's listen. Liberians don't do that. We like to act like we know everything, and it's wrong. If you don't know about technology, don't say anything about technology.
Thank you.
Because you're just going to confuse people.
Thank you, James.
And I will rest my. Thank you so much for the time.
Thank you. Let me take the next caller here. That's Mr. Calabo Gonglo. Mr. Gonglo, you're live.
All right. Thank you, Dennis. Good show. I listen to you guys. But I'm gonna be a little bit provocative tonight. Here's what I will say. On the drug war you're talking about, it's just sheer lack of common sense to even talk about winning the war on drug. In the case of Liberia, it's not a question to ask. Because here is why I think so. Drug and corruption are on one side of the same coin. The motive for corruption is to make money. The motive for getting drugs generally is to make money. The drugs dealers, they make money. You have a country that under a democratically elected government, the fight against corruption left from them probably enemy number one to vampire. It went through different metamorphoses of different phases and went up to a vampire. It means the country cannot kill the animal. Then drug, the country is poor. The poor make money. So these are two issues that you can't win the war because the country is corrupt and everybody looking for money. The government officials are stealing. The poor people trying to make money. So they're going to be in that kind of vicious cycle. We're not going to win. So let's forget to talk about winning is just lack of common sense, I would say, and which is characteristic of Liberia anyway. The other thing which I want to talk about briefly is look at it. Talk about in the past. Nicotech, the president of Liberia, my president, that was elected, was made to serve as a sole agent for a scammer. And nothing is done about that. And that's the country you talk about winning drug war. Compare if the Ghanaians that came and say, hey, we're going to bring 25 million. Look at the different thing. The foreign minister say a loan. The president say scholarship. The information minister say scholarship. The press secretary say it's legitimate, it's not a scam. Where are we? Then they asked me go tell a woman today at a press conference. She said it's a loan. So what different conflicting information. But this is a good one. Just Google them and you find out that they are a bunch of scammers. And we all live in this country. And Dennis, here is a protected team. And tonight, I came to the conclusion that we Liberians, we lack self-confidence. We are low IQ. Look, can you, Dennis, can any of you guys on the show tonight, can you go to Ghana and convince Ghanaians that you will make them to get UK visa? UK is where Ghanaians know more about. America is where Liberians know more about. And we will allow a Ghanaian to come and tell us about American education system that they will give us, they will make 250 of our citizens to come to the United States. At least if a Liberian living in America is scaring the country, I will understand. But a Ghanaian, that their place to go is the UK. That's the one that know more about the visa system. But we made them come to tell. And on top of that, they made our President Joseph Boakai, to become the same. Because when the president announced it, I'm not Liberian when I pay the money quick. He served as an effective agent for his scandal. And nothing has been done. The foreign minister ought to be fired, and all those linked to that should be fired. But is that going to happen? Because that's the nature of Liberia, a low IQ country, a country that is citizen lacks self-confidence. That's it.
Thank you. He said he was going to be controversial. He generalized. He said everybody. All right. You heard from Kalebo Gonglo. You heard our callers, Gabriel.
I personally would like to respond to Mr. Gonglo.
And let's say what Gonglo said is not true. Liberia is not what he said. Low IQ, lack self-confidence. Nobody should generalize 5 million people. That's wrong. Go ahead, Gabriel.
And that's what I wanted to respond to. And I think it's a segment of the people in government. And I think I shared this on the show yesterday. There is laziness in the government, what we want to call inept, right? It's this kind of braggadocio personality, ostentatious personality, like the fact that they think that they're in government, they know more, but they don't. And the reason why I say this, and I think I don't agree with his sentiment in terms of concluding, bucketing everybody in one bucket and saying that the entire country has a low IQ. You will send the government things to read for a meeting that is 2-3 weeks in advance. Mr. Ja, they would not read that document. They will come in front of you as you are not in the meeting right now, as if you didn't send this thing to them. No effort. They won't do their due diligence. They will come and assume and make all kinds of assumptions when you have provided them everything they needed to do. Meaning there is I don't know if it's a laziness or it's just kind of a lack of a will of wanting to do anything. So I think that's what Mr. Gonglo is speaking to. The fact that we have somebody as high as the president, the minister of foreign affairs, not being able to simple Google. You don't have to do any kind of research. Just Google search the name of the company. Google search the name of what kind of deal have they done before? how legitimate is this thing? And I said this yesterday. Who's going to be off the hook? What's the recourse for this 25 million? If these 250 people do not have the capability to repay this loan, who is the recourse? What are you giving in returns of that? Basic stuff like that would have allowed you to ask the right question had you gone back to these people to negotiate that deal. And with the right question, you would have been able to discover that this is not a legitimate deal, but a scam that people are putting out there to scam people. And that way you would have been able to pull out of it. But they weren't able to do that. And this is why I think, people, Mr. Gonglu is sharing that kind of sentiment. But I don't agree with it. I just think there's a laziness and the lack of will of people that wanting to do what they're supposed to do in the government. So that's my take on that. Thank you.
So we are breaking out 6,000 teachers from Ghana. Nigeria. That is even, and sorry to say, that is even way better than somebody telling you I got yeah, I got money to send your people to America and go learn AI. I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
Look,
if
you
America
gotta,
was saying it, or if Canada was saying we got this scholarship or school, I mean, a company say we'll send you $25 million. I mean, it's like, what is it? Loan, grant, work study, and they already decide or design how much you will make when you graduate. What is that? It doesn't make any sense. Not at
That's
all.
why I say we have to study.
I mean, what is this?
And measure what is good for us. It doesn't even make any sense. Those countries offload those things, before the advent of the internet. Okay, they had the concentration of the technology, knowledge, and everything, but that's not the case. So why won't we try not to build ourselves up instead of sending some people who, when they go, they will not come back because there's no incentive to come back? They don't have any work to do. They will not be paid well enough. They will just go. I remember back in the day, any Liberian went to he wants to come back quick, in a hurry, so he can go back home. But nowadays, people go and don't come back.
You are there for 5 years. So you send somebody away to go train for 5 years, right?
Yeah.
What's the incentive for them to come back? Already the people go from play football game, they don't go back. Then after living in this country, you graduate, you work, and you say they're going to go back. That's what you're waiting for. Let's conclude.
Mr. John, you have a 80-year-old man who's still living in 1960.
I swear.
They can scam him with eyeball wide open. They get him a phone call. They say you're on the phone with Elon Musk. Elon Musk coming to Liberia. The thing about it is desperation mixed with stupidity. When you're so desperate for quick wins, you fall for easy tricks. That's what it is. Joey, I never did this. We're doing it. Joey, I never did it. We're coming doing it. Any opportunity without doing your due diligence, you jump on it. It makes you right for scam. Look, we did something stupid with those buses that we brought from Ghana. The Ghanaian people know that we are gullible. They're gonna start flocking to Liberia, waiting and scamming and bringing up all kind of ingenious way and to scam us. I mean, a man who is not a president of a nation who is not familiar with computer, who barely can probably check his own email by himself. You think we're not going to get scammed left and right and center? I mean, come on. It's embarrassing, but I must agree with Mr. Gongo, to be honest with you guys. Liberia is work, and again, sometimes these things are subjective, but I will tell you why that is not inherently true. We are ranked the second lowest country when it comes to IQ behind Nepal. That is not because we're stupid inherently, as Black people, as Liberian, but it correlates with a lack of our educational system. We don't have a robust educational system. Most Liberians, when it comes to this country, they hit their peak. They young kids, people in their teenage, once they come to the United States with the kind of educational system they have here, their IQ point shoots all the way up and they can hit their peak. But when we're in the environment of Liberia, they're not saying that people in the Liberians that live in America have low IQ. They're telling the Liberians that live in Liberia have the second lowest IQ in the world because we lack the educational system. One
Who
of the
was
things
saying
that
that?
the statistic, I seen a statistic before. Even just go look. We like
Man,
the countries with the highest IQ or the countries with the lower IQ. Liberia is ranked second to last. Go search it on the internet.
I,
Sometimes we like to look. We like to look at numbers and compare our GDP, our this one. We believe it. When it's when it's derogatory, we don't like to believe it. But I'm telling you that it's not an insult to us.
I wouldn't believe any statistic because it's saying I will see the source where it's coming from.
Right.
Right.
I'm telling you that because we lack a robust educational system. Our people, just even some of the ways that we act in Liberia tells us that people have low IQ. One
No,
being that when you go take it, well, 1 second. One
no,
being that
no.
you have
But
to be able to
do
look.
you understand the way the IQ business? Because you are saying you can have low IQ in Liberia. When you come to America, your IQ go up.
I'm trying to give you an example now, right? Even if you just
He
go do
said
these
the
norm,
education system.
right, the education system, right? Or even if you go do these little IQ tests, one of the key factors of those tests are recognizing patterns and knowing when there's a deviation in the patterns, or being able to expect what's gonna happen in these different sequences. I'll give you an example of our elections. We
No,
fall for the same trick over
let us
and
not
over
go there.
again.
I want us to conclude. I
Yes,
don't want
we
to
fall
go
for the
off
same
topic.
trick over and over again. I don't want to go down that road because it sounds insulting to us as Liberians, but I'm saying that it's not an insult to us inherently. Even Nigerians who are very smart people, they don't reach their peak even in their own country. They come to the West and they skyrocket and become top performing students.
What do you mean
So
Nigeria?
Africa is holding us back intellectually
Elvis, I don't want you to go
overall.
up this thing. What do you mean Nigeria are smart people? Are they smarter than Liberians?
No, what I just said just now, I didn't say
Let's talk
Liberia, and
about
that's
In
why I
the
said when we
world,
come
yeah.
to America, all of us Africans, our IQ goes up because the educational system it
so
really brings the
it's
best out
not
of
our
us.
IQ that goes up. You know, it's not the IQ that is going up or going down based on where you are. Your
The
intelligence
educational system plays a big part in your intelligence, Mr. John. I'm sure you will agree with
but let us not go there. I want us to conclude before we go off tangent on
that.
comparing.
We're getting something by it, but it's true.
No, I mean, what's the data? Show me the data. But let's conclude tonight on the topic.
Let's progress.
Yeah, are
Yeah.
we winning or losing? I want us to close. And
Okay.
Evans, you're on the floor already. You have 30
Okay.
seconds left. Close.
Yeah, my closing argument will go up a little bit. And this is a personal thing. The situation, I don't know why we didn't discuss it. I was hoping we were going to discuss it today. The situation with President Boakai and an advisor of his that got caught up in Japan. You know, Joseph Boto is a.
Is he Boakai's advisor?
I mean, this is somebody who is close to
Ah,
the president,
right.
who has
But
a close relationship with the president.
Don't do that. Don't associate the guy
Well,
with Mr.
Who?
Boycott. I know we don't. I don't like
Who?
this.
Joe
Who that?
Joe Boto,
Don't do
Joe
that.
Boto.
Oh.
Yes, Joe Boto is a close family
Who?
friend of mine. Joe Boto family and my family are very close. We even live in the same household before. His oldest brother, KBK Jr., Kipua Poto Jr. It's like my uncle. So this is somebody I know very, very good, and it's an
Are you guys?
embarrassment for him.
knowing him doesn't make him an advisor of Joe Boakai.
No, what I'm telling you, I mean, Mr. John, we know the relationship that Joe Poto has to Joseph Boakai. Unless you don't know Kekua Poto, you don't know Tamatela and Joseph Boakai, the three, let's say the three musketeers from Lofa County. You don't know the relationship between those families, especially Boakai and Poto, the relationship they have. This is like a nephew to
But
him,
anyway, go ahead.
almost akin to Jay Kabakoli when the kind of relationship that they have. They have a close relationship. But with all the love and admiration that I have for Joe, we know his character. We know when he was in Harlem in the late 90s, the early 2000s, when he used to bring cars to Liberia. He used to even bring cars for former President Weah. He was doing I hate to say the BM thing. People knew him. He's a charismatic guy, but they knew his lifestyle. The fact that he's on private jet with President Boycott, the fact that he has access to the president, meeting the president, and he thought that he was a diplomat, having done something in Japan, was able to escape the country, thinking now that he's in a better position. He went back to Japan only to get arrested for duping people. I mean, I feel sorry for him. I feel sorry for the family. I think he embarrassed the family, made all of us shame. And I think as Liberians, people like that, we got to condemn them, even if they're close people, close family friends. And I just feel sorry for him in the fact that he spoiled his country name and he spoiled his family name. And also President Boakai being associated with him as brought a stink on his presidency again. So that would just be my closing. Overall, I think it was a good show. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, that's your closing because
That's my closing.
there are bad people. So if the bad person knows the president, if he's a rogue and knows the president, or if he's a nephew to the president,
Yeah, and
but
that is why I don't understand. Let me tell you, I don't want. I will not talk about Joe. Elvis, you will not believe it, but I am. I know
Jimmy, let's close. Let's leave that.
I'm just gonna. I know. I know every one of those guys were neighbors right next door like this on the.
For me, I was inside. I'm not neighbor with these
I know.
people.
I know Joe from the time he was 3 years old. I know Joe from the time he was 3 years old when he was just a kid, baby. I know the kid. But so I'm not going to talk about that. But I don't think it's fair that
to link in with President Boakai because
I don't think that's fair. I wouldn't endorse. But that's all I'm going to say about that. Are we winning or losing? The jury is still out. I believe we have taken some steps in the right direction, but we need to do more. We need to do greater. But sometimes you don't take big steps at first. You take small steps and then you increment your stride as you go along. So I am still positive because I see some unique changes, especially corrective action. I think that is definitely a step in the right direction. But we're going to have to go deep, and we're going to have to be more thorough, and we're going to have to be very strategic. And that is what the next stage I'm looking for. So we'll see what happens by next year.
Thank you. Gabriel.
Thank you again. I think I want to land or close on an argument that I made earlier. And that argument is that in as much that I think this president, at least in his, the 12 hours of his president this year so far, he has shown us a little bit of accountability of what his administration can do in terms of holding people accountable. Not even though it may not be to the degree that we expect. Those wins, what if you want to call them wins, I think those are domestically, and these are things that will get you and I excited. However, if he really is serious about making impact in the country from a developmental standpoint in terms of really getting people to back him internationally and really trust him, and I think it was Sam Wallow that made that claim that, we got 114 million. Sam, 114 million is peanuts, for this presidency, if he really wanted to transform his administration or this country, but to close to the point that I'm trying to make, if he really wants to get the international community to trust him, or international partners or donors or investors, or even Liberians like you and I living in the diaspora with a little bit of money saved up here and there, who wants to go back and really invest because they trust the direction in which this country is going, he has to do something drastic. He has to do something drastic to prove to those people that this country is serious about moving in the right direction, which we can trust this administration, that the financial system can be trusted, that we can now bring money into this system, and we can leave it there without any consequences or without it being stolen, or from the international perspective, we can invest, give this administration money, and we trust that if we give him capital or whatever it is, they're going to be spent in the right direction or in the right projects and places. However, I don't think he has done that. He hasn't done that yet. Maybe that is yet to come. And I think that is the hope, even though hope is not a strategy. This is something all of us are keep hoping for, that hopefully next year, the beginning of next year, he will go back, take his New Year vacation and say, okay, I've spent 10 months or 12, 11 months into this administration. What did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? Right? How can I improve, and how can I reshuffle to make sure that I really put this economic plane on a trajectory that will lift this country up into the sky? I yield. Thank you.
Jimmy, you're closing.
I think I said it. We're taking a couple of steps in the right direction, but we're going to have to continually be more and more strategic, and definitely fix the legal system. I think that is half the problem. And if you fix that, I think more things will start falling in place. Okay, that's all I got.
Guys, and want to thank our viewers for watching. Always focus on Liberia, where we educate, we elevate, and promote all things Liberia.
I don't think we heard from Mr. Nambwe.
No, he went.
Mr. Nambwe, you're closing.
I was gonna let you close it without much. I really don't have much to say, but
I knew that.
I like to answer the question. I like to answer the question as to whether we are
Losing or winning?
Losing or winning. I think we're losing big time. Gabriel was saying I think my frustration is that I think I expected a lot more from this government than I'm getting. The whole idea of what is the national development plan? Roads and roads cannot be the national development plan alone. What about our tourism? There's a whole lot. I always believe we don't have the resources, but I think we can generate the resources. So I'm just frustrated. We are doing business as usual, and in some cases even worse. I can't tell you in 10 months the scandals that we've heard about in this occurring under this government occur in order judge we have 6 years. I don't think so. If we're being honest, I'm not a sedition, but let's be honest. There is an average of a scandal per week, under this government, and it is very, very disappointing and frustrating. I have been hoping to find a bearing, but 10, 11 months going in.
When you say scandal, what are you talking about? Example.
All the scams from corruption to fake deals, the yellow machine happening, we know that. The $3 billion from China, we heard that. I can go and name them. They come and raise our hopes, and nothing's happening. Right now, we're talking about this $25 million scam. A parent scam. Everybody seems to believe. There is something happening almost every day, and nothing comes out of it. And then at the end of it, it just blows over, and the people continue to perform the duties as a sign. Nothing happens. Is that really what we were looking for? So that's why I believe we're losing. I don't think we're making progress. I think we're far from making progress. And I hope we'll turn things around. But, almost a year is gone. We got, 5 years left? In the last 2 years, I think it will be all about campaigning and all of that, So in actual sense, we have another 3 years or so to deliver on whatever we promised.
Our president's not getting stronger. It's only getting weaker as the year goes.
That too.
On that note, we're going to close with our song that says, "We are all Liberians." Thank you, gentlemen, and God bless you.
We are Liberians. Liberia is our home. Liberian people.